All right, GM. So today, Q&A session. I've got some questions noted, and in the chat, maybe there will be some questions following. At the time of the recording, crypto's still bleeding. We'll see how it will continue. No allocations from me, honestly. So last time we looked at VS Code, how to install it, maybe some extensions, a walkthrough, and future things that we will be looking at as well. So I showed you how to create a workspace, how to create folders inside this workspace, files, etc. And also a sneak peek of how to use AI inside the workspace. So it basically has access to those files and more context, which is more practical in that sense. And if we're looking at the screen right now, so here's a repository, a workspace I got for a program I created because I felt something basically missing, not only for personal work, but also like at my workspace or workplace rather, but also for my trading, having a feature sets that I can use during my work, trading and investing. So it's still work in progress, but it got some pretty practical features. And I've also got it loaded up right here. Right now I'm in one of the modules. So it's QuantHut. So basically like a HUD inside of a game, which inspired me. And it got some general modules, something like notes, to-do lists, a clock with alarm, timers, etc. And also calendar if you need it. I just put it there for fun and some tinkering. Also a calculator and a converter as well. Pretty neat, I would say, and also practical for my workplace. And also some color pickers, for example. Sometimes I get inspired by some color palettes, want to try them out, can't or have to screenshot the image and put it into Paint, then extract the color. It's pretty tedious, but with this you can instantly pick the color. So pretty handy as well. A clipboard and a screenshot section. I don't know what I have clipboarded or copy pasted, so I won't be going in there. Maybe some API keys. I don't know. I've been testing some AI models. Don't want to leak them. That's important. And also screenshot. I think it's safe. Yeah, screenshot is safe. But clipboard, I don't want to leak some passwords or API keys. But yeah, so pretty practical tools, also open source, so you can also download it. And also the position size of from the quant calc is also implemented here. And basically I want to expand the advanced section for basically the trading and investing part for this HUD. And I also got some settings. For example, now you can change the monitor, the window position, maybe left or right, and also dual mode if you want to have two of them basically working in parallel. So sometimes I'm pretty autistic coming when it comes to like having a placement for that. So I made it symmetrical. So having it on two sides is giving my autistic side basically all it needs. Basically a flashbang as well implemented with the light theme. So if you like the light theme, you get that as well, and the trigger style. So you get the column from the early feature. I now implemented the half circle. Now with Claude Opus 4.6, the new model from Anthropic, so Claude, it's such a great model. It helped me through some things that I haven't seen or known, and this half circle was one of them, because this is basically a browser screen and you can't really cut out something or append something on the browser screen, and it's pretty crazy that it did that just by itself. And also the mode, so basically hover mode is when you hover over it, but also click mode where it stays when you click on it. But in hover mode, you can also pin it down, and then you can deactivate the pro features, which is basically the advanced section. This is just to not have my coworkers, if they use that they see that I'm basically a trader, which will be leaked in a few months, probably, if they see more of my GitHub repositories, honestly. Yes, so Elon is saying, damn, that's all I came here for. Nah, so basically, this is like one of the projects, and this is something I wanted to say as well, that in TradingView and PineScript, you are limited to just PineScript, which is basically a version of Python, I would say. And the great thing with something like Visual Studio Code is you can literally code anything. So you're not only restricted. Oh, he meant the clipboard on the API keys. Nah, not leaking that. But you can also use VS Code not only for something like PineScript or Python, but also any other programming language. You can build inside that. You can use AI, as I said, to help you develop the things. So coding has never become this easy, honestly. And because it has become this easy, people are still like not trusting it. So they still think, okay, but why should I use an AI? Why should I trust that? Why should you trust anything? Honestly, like just try it, just use it, and you will see that it is literally teaching you something by just giving you the opportunity of talking with the AI and commanding the AI as well. So basically, this is like one of the projects, which is also available on my GitHub. But coming back basically to the repository that will be, so basically released in the step 2 of the project. And reminder for that as well, that this will only be accessible pretty much for the paid people. But you could technically just search it up in my GitHub repository, but you can't really collaborate because you're not talking inside the Algo development chat. But yes, so basically you could just get the source code, but not collaborating with us will not only make you misusing the indicators because you don't have contact to the developers, but also not being able to like properly use them inside your own coding. Yes, so basically I've written down some questions that people have asked frequently, and I would go over that and also some questions that will be asked in the chat. So always feel free to just post them. So basically, why should we even use any like development environment? So basically, VS Code is an IDE, so it's basically a development environment, integrated development environment. Why aren't we just using something like Notepad or the editor app in Windows itself? You could use that. You could technically use the editor, but it lacks features that would make it much more clunky to use it. So basically the problem we would have if we just use an editor is we wouldn't have features like integrated explorer or an AI. And the other good thing is, for example, something like in terminal. So if you know, you can just write CMD or command line and basically go into your terminal and do stuff from there, like building the project, starting the project. And that's pretty practical for something outside of PineScript. And this is where we will be going as well. And not even in the far future, so in the near term, we're going to be visiting some other things. And that's basically the great thing. The integration is just so advanced now that you get so many features inside this one application, and the community is always growing and it's always expanding and coming up with new things. So that's also a plus. And yes, so basically running other code than just the Pine script is like one of the biggest points, and also the easy to use interface as well. Also looking at some of the questions I've written down. So basically one of the most popular programming languages besides Pine script inside of TradingView would be Python itself. And the great thing with Python is it's easily written and also well documented online. So AI models know how to use them pretty good, I would say. And looking at some of the projects, I have got some here. If I can pull them up on the screen. So I just went onto GitHub, and there are some people, if you write down Python trading, for example, you get like Python backtesting library for trading strategies, or Pythonic, crazy, algorithmic trading library, or something like Exchange API for Binance, also written in Python. You can always see them by the tags here. Sometimes projects are not only written by Python, but also some other languages, for example, C#. You get Jupyter, which is a version of Python. And here are some free trading bots, open source trading bots that you can use, build upon. And it is huge, as you can see, like 100 pages of just projects that got this tag in it, like Python trading. And the amount of people that have shared their code is just interesting symbol. Is just insane. For example, SDK for Hyperliquid API trading with Python. And I've got one of the people inside the community, it was AS79, was also sharing a repository of someone that built a trading bot on side of O1 exchange, I think it was. And it's just massive how many people have written down their codes and shared it also. And so you get many decentralized exchanges here, also centralized, as we can see with the Binance repository. So support is there, and it's basically like having books of knowledge. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but you've got this knowledge that you can try out for free, completely for free. And that's the best part of open source. Just pulling these libraries out, putting them inside your Visual Studio Code, and trying them out. So having hands-on experience with code, and then looking up the parts of the code, maybe tinkering with them, maybe changing some parameters. Being able to like engineer these things is just such a privilege to have, and it's just now is the century of coding, basically, and this is going to be bigger and bigger, and we're going to be starting it first. So I've seen many communities that go in this direction, but they haven't really worked with the community itself. So, yeah, so got one question in the chat. So it's from Elon. Will we be coding our own trading bot? For example, one where you give him the strat in form of code and let him execute. Funny thing, this is actually one of the 3 things that we will be putting on the bucket list. I can pull up the editor. So the first thing will be a trading or investing bot, building upon basically the rule sets and basically giving him the instructions, only operating on this time frame or on this route. So it will be short and long term. Should probably write it here as well, so no one thinks that I am meaning long or short. And so the second thing will be a trading terminal, something like the other online providers got for open interest, for something like what's also there, order flow. And these things can be fetched through APIs and can be basically displayed. So the only thing that PineScript does is basically taking the equations, the math, and displaying it neatly and autistically as well. So if you like colors, you can like basically make rainbows out of the data you're getting. But so basically it's just numbers behind that. And the same goes for the APIs. They're just giving you numbers. And out of those numbers, you can create graphs or statistics and other calculations. And that's the great part. So basically, you're getting the big data from the API, just like from TradingView, and creating your indicators or your terminals and graphs. So this is basically what the trading terminal is. And the third thing would be something like a investing or macro dashboard with news or GLI, for example. So basically global liquidity and other things that would be like, I don't know, important for your decision making. And all these things are going to be open source. So all these things, I'm trying to make them like locally hostable. So every PC can run it. So you're not dependent on any server. You only need internet connection, a personal API key, hopefully on a platform that provides these data for free. This would be optimal. But if we get something like basically a call per day, which costs like several cents, it's still cheaper if you think about it. Something like, I don't know, what was it again, CoinGlass or something like that. All these sites, probably Salman knows what I'm referring to. There are some multiple sites that give you insight into on-chain data, for example, but you can basically take these calls per day. So you don't need like 24/7 API calls like these basically sites do. You only need them at market close or market open, if you would see it like that, and just need the data precisely on that point because your decision making is on a daily basis, for example. And then you only have to pay a few cents per call and maybe just a few dollars per month instead of paying the overpriced subscription fee. So you're not only saving money, you're making yourself independent. And that's what I think is like the great thing about this. So these are one of the 3 big projects I want to do with everyone. And yeah, using Visual Studio Code will not only make it easier for us to use, but also GitHub, for example, to share the code, to collaborate in it. And yeah, AI, using AI basically to understand the code, to learn the code and do the things. So 3 big pillars. We basically visited pillar 1, which is VS Code. Pillar 2 will be GitHub. So next week we're going to be looking at GitHub, how to extract code or basically pull a repository and maybe do our own changes, maybe fork. So basically you can pull, push. No, this is not a workout routine. Fork, I don't know, commit on your own. So, and many more things. So these are all actions you can do with a repository. So like pulling the data, pushing your data inside the repository. Forking it means basically taking the repository at its current state and making your own repository out of it. You can do that. That's not illegal. It's totally allowed because it's open source. And that's a great thing, because you can basically take a library or something like a working product and make it a better version out of it. And there are many things, for example, this trading bot, or not trading bot, this AI model or AI agent called C-Line or Klein was one of the first AI agents inside of Visual Studio Code created by a different, I would say, group of people, not a company. They basically made themselves to a company, but it's also open source. And people took that code and created their own AI agent, which is pretty funny, because now we got something like RuCode, which is a version of it because it looks familiar, but they changed many things already. And other than RuCode, for example, there's also KiloCode. And you can see I've tested some things on KiloCode. I think it's the best version of those three. And we're going to be covering it in not the next stream, but the stream after that. So excited for that as well. And yes, so basically, as I said, the three pillars: VS Code, GitHub, and then also AI agents. We're going to be looking at, so basically locally hosted ones, not looking at it for long. I tested it on my machine. My machine is pretty strong right now, so I can leak that, I think. So pretty strong machine, but still not strong enough. So just recently bought it. Got a lot of RAM, even in this economy. I know, a good CPU, but this still does not like it is not enough for like big models. But you can create or use small ones, like for example I've got here, and there will be a demo as well. So not only we're going to be looking at locally hosted ones, but also on a usage base. So basically there's someone hosting them, and we can use our own API token to basically send a request, get our request back with an answer, and basically talk with them that way. And this is only on a usage base, so you're not paying like monthly subscriptions, and only paying if you need that call, basically. So also a pretty good option, especially with KiloCode, for example. And then we got the subscription based, which is not necessarily bad. So there's a subscription from Claude, so Claude Code, and these are pretty damn good, if you ask me. I will be testing them as well on my own. But if you're I would say, power user of AI, this is like one of the best things you can buy, because you're not buying a subscription and you're getting a certain amount of calls or credits to call for the AIs, basically sending requests or messages, but you're getting a 5-hour time frame of usage. And inside of that 5-hour time frame, you get certain amount of messages you can send, starting with the first message you're sending. And then after 5 hours after the first message, this will be resetted and basically starting at the first message you're sending again. So you're never limited inside the whole month, but you're just limited inside this session. So 5-hour session. And this is perfect. Like imagine me going to work at probably starting at 8 a.m., going like 5 hours inside of that time frame, basically until 6, what's the 4 p.m. basically, coming back home. Inside somewhere of that is like 5 hours, somewhere like that. People will be looking at this and thinking, why is this guy like saying 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is like 8 hours, is 5 hours, is he like retarded or something? But basically trust me on that. And looking at this, basically after I arrive at home, I can basically start at 5 p.m. go 5 hours and I'm at 10 p.m. basically ready to go to sleep. So 2 sessions in a day with like private coding at work and also like personal coding at my home. And this is all in like a subscription of under $100 per month. So free AI, or not free AI, it's still paid, but basically getting the ability to use that AI agent inside of your Visual Studio Code. But also you have to remember that inside of this subscription, you're also getting Claude itself. So basically Claude Pro, and everyone is using any kind of AI and is already subscribed to one or two of them. So having one subscription for everything basically is better than having like 2 or 3 subscriptions of stuff or paying these usage based pricings. That's basically the math I got right now. We'll be testing that, and that's why it's the last thing that we're going to be visiting. Yes, so I'm looking if I got some other question. Commit means to use the source code. Commit means basically sending the source code into the repository back. So you got your local version of the thing that you pulled on your machine, and then you're pushing your code inside the cloud basically, or inside the area where the repository is stored. You can also have repositories on the local server, but for our case, because we use GitHub, it's basically stored in the cloud or on the cloud server. So yes, also 64 gigabytes more than I had in my whole life. I swear my last laptop was dying if I like did a recording, so I know how it feels. This is like my first big upgrade as well. Before that, there were only like little upgrades. I've owned a desktop PC before and upgraded some parts every now and then. For example, the graphics card. Now this is like the beefiest thing I've got, and it's so fun to use, not only for coding. I'm still a gamer, so shame me on that, but I think it's just releasing me sometimes from stress and having some good time with the boys. That's always good. I also hope that those Q&A sessions we have is also some chill time. Basically, if you got some questions or stories in general in your investing, trading journey, or in general, it's always nice to listen to those. So Elon is also asking, what am I playing? I am basically, yeah. If I say that, no one's going to be going into the streams again or looking the videos. Nah, I'm playing League of Legends like the good old days. Nah, bro, I'm not playing Roblox. I'm toxic as fuck. I'm playing League of Legends, bro. I've played CS:GO before. I'm basically variety gamer. I've played everything. Not the hugest fan of like story games, but I think they're nice, but I'm such a competitive person that I just want to play League of Legends, CS:GO, and stuff like that. LG is saying I'm playing a game called Trading, trying to defeat the market makers. Yes, so trading is also a pretty great thing for gamers because they like to strategize and get into things, analyze them, and get better in them. So basically, gaming is not that far off of trading. Funny enough, they created some trading, not marathons, but like tournaments where they have to trade, and the person with the best like profit and loss, they win basically. So pretty funny to see that, and impressive if you basically win. But on that high level, I can't imagine the scalping stress. Crazy question right now from Salman. So basically something in his laptop gone bad. If I know any place in Germany where I can get that fixed, so someone that deals with microelectronics, That is pretty hard to know. I'm thinking currently there's sometimes some smaller shops, but maybe they can fix them. So basically those in those scammy looking electronic shops, mostly from like migrants that they got, basically those shops. You can go there. It's most of the time looks pretty scammy, but they sometimes do a good job. Just don't get scammed yourself. Get a pricing at the beginning, and it should be good. Yeah, so microelectronics, pretty hard to fix it yourself. Don't take it to a scammy shop. Yeah, nah. Basically, looking online is just what I can say. There are not many shops, I think, that are doing this. Oh, if you get a MacBook, that would be a different case. Maybe Apple can do it from their side. Might take long, but also taking it to an Apple shop, sometimes they can fix it on the spot, and you can like pick it up next day. So it's also officially repaired, which would be pretty good. Oh, his Windows gaming laptop. Yeah, that's a different problem. Never mind. Yeah, I remember you said that as well. Yeah, so pretty hard to know. You would have to be looking it up, honestly. I'm looking at my list if I get some other questions as well. So so LG got the question if what is the first project we're going to build here. So basically, the other steps I have said in the introduction stream will be like step 1 is basically setup part. So this is where we're at right now. The second part will be like creating PineScript. So we're basically starting first with PineScript. The second step will be something like libraries and indicators. The third step will be strategy development, using those indicators, of course. I am writing like a pig right now. Strategy using indicators and also libraries. And the fourth one is basically the gateway to basically those projects below. So scripts in general, creative with Python, for example, but also software. So big software, probably even bigger than this side dashboard I got. Basically those 3 big projects, but leading after this, the world is open basically. And this is one of the great things about coding. Like you can create one product or another, but you can create hundreds of iterations of that single product, but also create 100 different versions of the same product. You could basically do this trading terminal like once, and then do another iteration where you understood the assignment better and then implement it in a better way. So basically redoing it faster with more knowledge and even cleaner. And also like I've worked at this dashboard for 2 weeks, 1 week ago or something like that. Claude's Opus 4.6 came out, and I've basically remodeled it inside the same repository in the same week. So this is like the world is evolving, and the AI is also moving fast. Inside of these Q&A sessions, I sometimes want to be looking over those new AI releases, maybe some new options, for example, what's more lucrative for us to use, what's cheaper and still qualitatively good. Like for example, I have researched. Yeah, I've not got the tab open anymore. So there's a new model called GLM5. It's from a open source Chinese group or company, those Chinese, I swear to God, they are creating one of the best models open source. So you could technically locally host them, but they just require so much power. For example, this GLM5 model, and it is nearing the performance of the ones from Claude. So basically Anthropic's highest models. Just a group of people in China. This is so crazy. And we basically profit from that because when they create stuff like this, so basically open source things that are publicly available much cheaper, these companies like ChatGPT and Claude have to go bigger and beyond. So not only performance wise in the quality of code or output the model is outputting, but also something like the cost of the call. So basically input and output tokens. But we will be going to looking at these factors as well in the AI lesson. Damn, many questions came in. So will there be a coding basics lesson? Yeah, so we're going to be looking at the basics as well, but it's mostly going to be me showing you how to utilize AI and research to take over mostly the coding tasks. So you only have to basically orchestrate. But I will also be providing some links for those that want to like learn coding and all these like technical stuffs. It's always good to know them, and that's why I would say programs are still not irrelevant in this economy and time, because we still need them for their knowledge. AI is just a tool, I would say. Yeah, so like print, if, elif, or else, etc. All of this will be basically covered, but in a smaller version. And I think some tutorial websites do it better. So also giving you practical examples, not only just the theory, because the theory just bores you. I swear, I've had it in school. It just bores you. You want to be active and proactive. So LG is also saying, I won't lie, I let Claude do all my coding with the correct prompts, of course. Yes, so there was a time where there were people calling for prompt engineers, not software engineers or anything, but prompt engineers. This is a legitimate job right now. So prompt engineering, if you know how to prompt something to an AI, it is basically powerful. So you can make it do anything you want. So as long as it is inside of the guidelines, but prompting is a huge skill to have as well. Combining it with your knowledge. So yes, GLM5 was the model, and it is sadly also not free, as well as Claude, not free. You can sometimes get some free access to some AI models, but that's mostly like limited to a few messages per session, per month, or anything. So we will be taking advantage of it as well. No worries, to try some things out. For example, I have shown this a couple of times inside of VS Code. This is like one extension called Chat, but GitHub Copilot is fitting more. Yes, so GitHub Copilot Chat is like basically what I mean. And this model got like some basic things, like for some of the smaller models from GPT, because Microsoft has bought its way into OpenAI, and also some of the Claude models. I don't know what Raptor is, honestly. And this is like something I have connected externally with my API token. So I can also like use Claude Opus 4.6 with this token. Yes. So there are multiple ways. This is like one of the things I did for the backtesting library, stuff like that. I have heard some things about codecs, It's from OpenAI, basically the OpenAI equivalent of Claude and Claude Code, I mean. And it should be pretty good, but sometimes I think OpenAI tries to force its way to a niche that it should not belong into. Like ChatGPT was pretty good at some coding tasks at the beginning, but Claude was just made from programmers to programmers. So it's so much better in every regard in problem solving for like programming and coding that like GPT is not catching up that well. But what GPT does well is like creative tasks. So basically, they should focus more on creators and management stuff because that's what OpenAI and ChatGPT is doing much better than Claude. But that's okay. So there's a reason for both models to exist, in my opinion. And Codex was also praised. It was pretty good with their 5.3 model, I think. But yeah, so this is all going inside this rabbit hole I said in the beginning, and this will be a separate stream as well, like the rabbit hole of AI agents. And you should not like look too deep into it because there's another analogy, and like for gamers, for example. So if you're like saying, okay, the RTX 5090 is the best GPU right now, and you probably need a new GPU for gaming, there are some people that would be like saying, oh no, you should wait for the RTX 6090 because it's coming out pretty soon. And then people would be like, nah, it just came out, just wait for the 7090. And this is just postponing something you can't avoid. So you can't just be, oh yeah, we're waiting for the new model and be like, okay, we're postponing it. Like just use it. And if you want something new, you can try something new, but you should not be like extremely precisely like calculating all the things just for hardware reason. Just try it out, and you don't also have to upgrade every GPU or every year your GPU, you know. And yeah, so I've read earlier from LG. Claude Bot is, for example, also an interesting project recently dropped. So it's basically an AI that is doing something or stuff. So I can maybe look it off at it if I can find it. Yeah, so it's OpenClaw now. They changed their name. OpenClaw, the AI that actually does things. So it's basically got like access to your computer, all locally, of course. I would not trust my PC to be used externally like that. But so it's basically runs on your own machine, can access any chat app if you want, persistent memory, browser control. So you can basically use it as your own assistant on your machine. And people like buy so many Mac minis and host them on there. Like have like a cluster of Mac minis and basically run it on there, go remotely onto these computers and basically like get their research. You can use anything for OpenClaw. If you want, you can like set like trading bots on it as well. So it searches the web, looks what strategy fits the best, and tries to like use it. There was this one guy that did that, and he was not profitable at all. One of the projects or accounts just blew up like extremely, but he's updating it, so there will be a new iteration, and I will keep you guys updated if I know anything about that project. It sounds cool, yeah, so kind of scary. I think that's kind of scary as well. But if you like keep it in its own environment, there are also virtual desktops or so basically virtual machines that you can run on a separate machine. and they are in their own sandbox, can't like access outside of it. So your machine is basically protected from itself because it's in its own sandbox and can't access anything outside of the native machine. Might be something we will be visiting after step 4. So how to utilize virtual machines just for those that are interested. Yeah, so many things. I would say there are a lot of things that people might be interested in that are just recently going into stuff like coding or the whole like ecosystem of codes and repositories and stuff. So the community is huge, and it is keep getting bigger because it's getting mainstream basically, but in a slow way. And we should be one of the first ones to profit from it as well. Market is evolving as well. Bitcoin, for example, is maturing faster and faster. And there won't be some easy runs, so we need some better technical tools. Currently in the trading bootcamp and also the investing masterclass inside of Lambo Lounge, learning some fundamentals that will be important as well. I hope some people might join as well and see what I mean. Sophisticated material in there. It is a sophisticated addition to my trading and investing journey. All right. So any closing questions or anything other than that? I thought this stream would go something like 15 minutes or something, but we went well above the time. But that's a good sign. That's interest. That's showing that there's interest basically. Yeah, so I will be trying to research some websites for people to like look into it in their free time for basic coding stuff, but also some more concept that they can learn. And yes, good to see that there's also people that like this kind of things and that there's interest. All right, closing it with this one. Good night and GM.